Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm just going to show you some of my favorite jazz pieces in my collection. First up, playing in the background is Anthony Braxton, New York Fall, 1974. Probably my favorite Anthony Braxton record, at least from what I've heard. It's got a big catalog, and I've only heard the 3 records that I own, and that's my favorite from him. And actually, this community is largely responsible for getting me into him, because I haven't heard that much about him prior, and really glad that some of you have shown him, because it's a great record. Got into jazz about 3.5 years ago. Up until that point in my life, I hadn't listened to anything. Well, didn't know any jazz artists whatsoever, and so I guess it all started with one day I was just randomly surfing on YouTube, and the first video I randomly came across this video, I don't know how, of the title track. I might have been searching for music, but the title track on this record, Blue Train, by John Coltrane, of course, and instantly I was hooked. I thought, whoa, really like that song. I didn't know really any jazz, but I did know that I liked that. And this record here is actually the first record that I ever bought in a record store, along with a couple others, but my first time ever in a record store, I saw this, recognized it from the blue song that I saw, Blue Train, and picked it up, and have been actually obsessed with John Coltrane ever since. I know a lot of people are big fans of him in this community, but there's no musician that I've ever come close to loving as much as John Coltrane. I mean, there's other guys that I like a lot, but John Coltrane's music does so much for me, and its beauty, its passion, ferocity a lot of the times. I've never been a completist for any musician. I just figure that every musician has bad records in their collection, and I've never felt the urge to pick up a bad release, because there's so many other good records out there. But here's one man that I do want to one day have a close to complete collection. There's a lot of records out there, so it's gonna be tough, and it may be expensive. But backtracking for a little bit, yeah, it was 3.5 years ago that I started getting into jazz, and then looking out for jazz records, but I wasn't picking up very many. But I always did know prior to that point that I liked jazz. I just didn't seek it out. And reasons of it, because whenever I heard jazz tracks, I in shows or whatever, I really loved them. And I think Charlie Brown was fantastic for the jazz that was showcased in the show. A lot of you might laugh or just completely disregard this album, but don't. This is one of the one of the best jazz albums of all time, really. Fantastic piano playing by Vince Guaraldi, and everybody probably recognizes the classic Charlie Brown tune, Linus and Lucy, that's showcased on this album. But yeah, this is a Christmas album, but still very good, and I play it constantly around the Christmas time, but it even gets played a couple times around the year, because it's just so good. So that's Vince Guaraldi. Listen to it. It's very good. Next is my favorite jazz album of all time. Obviously a Coltrane record, but probably not the one you're thinking of. This is John Coltrane's Live at the Village Vanguard. So good. A lot of Coltrane's catalog, like especially his Impulse stuff, is very consistent, but this is by far like my one of my favorite records of all time. Definitely my favorite jazz record of all time. For those of you who don't know, the originals in Canada on Impulse came out on Spartan Records. And so this is a original Canadian pressing. Those who like seeing labels. So pretty interesting label. But it's still got like the RBG Rudy Van Gelder stamp in the dead wax. And this copy is far from ideal. You can see, like, look at all that shredding on the back. There's water damage on the inside. You can see that well, but see all around Coltrane there. But and the vinyl's pretty scratched. But at least they're mostly surface scratches, because a lot of these earlier pressings, like earlier pressing records, like in the '60s and stuff, with the thick vinyl, it really still sounds great even with a scratch record. Like when I put it on, I hear barely any pops or ticks, which is fantastic. And I got that for pretty cheap, but it's my favorite record, so I'd love to pick up a like near mint copy when this one's in mono too. But so good. Actually, I'm gonna talk about this, even though I'm running high for time. I'm gonna talk about this a little more. This is I think he performed 4 nights at the Village Vanguard. It might have been 3. But this is one of his first albums on Impulse. Really one of his first albums where he started to explore into that free, more avant-garde jazz. This isn't, but it's just barely avant-garde on this record. It's not that crazy of a record for those of you that might be scared off by that sound. I think it's a very listenable album, and for anyone. It has 3 tracks on here: Spiritual, Softly as a Morning Sunrise, and Chasing the Train. And Softly as in a Morning Sunrise, sorry. Eric Dolphy. This is just when he was kind of making the final changes on his classic quartet that would soon come, because every player that's in the classic quartet is on this album. Jim Garrison, Elvin Jones, McCoy Tyner, and Coltrane, of course. But there's also another bass player on this, Reggie Workman. And Eric Dolphy's also on this record, but he only plays on the first track, Spiritual. And Spiritual, Chasing the Train are both Coltrane originals. The middle track isn't, but they're all very strong songs. And Chasing the Train takes up entire side 2 on this record, and it is very, very, very good. Probably my favorite Coltrane song. And it was called Chasing the Train because apparently when Rudy Van Gelder was the engineer who was recording the sessions, and at the Village Vanguard, and it was, I think I already said this, but it was recorded over 4 nights, I think maybe 3 nights, and the best tracks, well, what they thought as the some of the best tracks were put on that album. Later on, some of the stuff later came out as on different albums, like Impressions and the other Village Vanguard tapes. But sorry, I don't know where I lost track, but I was just gonna say that Rudy Van Gelder was the engineer on the album, and he named Chasing the Train because apparently, like, Coltrane was walking all over the stage and Rudy Van Gelder was chasing all around to with the microphone to try to record him for that song. But it's kind of a bluesy, avant-garde track, and his playing in it is phenomenal. I think during that time, well, it's hard to say, but because, like, Coltrane's whole Impulse career is very creative, but yeah, especially during that early Impulse period, his creativity was insane. Okay, last record I'm probably going to show for this video, even though I haven't showed that many, is how can you show John Coltrane without showing, you know, what many people consider his magnum opus. Very, very good album. I don't like this quite as much as At the Village Vanguard, but still very good. And obviously, it's a Love Supreme. I'm not going to talk too much about this record because tons of people have, lots of people have showed it. My copy is not an original, as it may look, not an Impulse original anyways. This, I don't know if you can read that, but under the 33.5 RPM, I think it says manufactured by Capitol, and this was part of their Capitol subscription series. Andrews in Stockholm, I believe, has Kulise Mama on the same series. Oops. But still has reproduced, like, the same spine and everything, but you can see has MAS instead of like AS or A would be typical for a Impulse spine. And anyways, this was released, I believe, at the same, from what I can tell and what I've seen from my research of it, it was released the same time as the Impulse originals, but heard that this is the second best sounding version of this record, right after the original Impulse model. This is mono pressing. I've heard with the original Impulse stereo that there's a slight hissing or something that on a lot of the pressings that people don't like and stuff, but yeah, I found this in a store and just couldn't pass it up. I mean, having a Love Supreme, I keep it out of the sleeve just because I love looking at that label, original, kind of original Impulse, the label with that says the Love Supreme on it, and it was about $40, not great price, and not a bad price either, but it's in fairly good condition. See, there's some wear around the top and stuff. The vinyl clip is really good, and a couple surface scratches, but not really that much at all. Yeah, some, not even surface scratches, like a couple scuffs, but very, very good condition. Well, I might as well show. Yeah, I'll just I'm gonna cut the video here because it's almost 15 minutes, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2 if you continue watching.